Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I actually kind of like this camera angle. It's not bad, kind of snazzy. Um, this week we will have to postpone our planned episode on David Koresh to cover some breaking news. This past week, a feud has broken out between the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and ironically, the first American Pope, Pope Leo, who just got elected as Pope just a year back. Actually, I believe to Trump's support. As going back to how this all started, at the beginning of this year, we all know the U.S. had its operation into Venezuela, captured the dictator and head of state, Nicolas Maduro. Illegal, probably. Justified, maybe. Caused a lot of outrage, just because a lot of checks and balances were not followed on that, and it caused a lot of outrage. And when Pope Leo called for diplomacy and words before violence, the administration ended up meeting with one of the representatives of the Vatican, and allegedly the meeting went very, very poorly. And that's kind of the end of this for the next couple months. There wasn't really much that happened, and then Iran started. And immediately the Pope called for a ceasefire and kind of called for an end to this, to violence, to beginning stuff with violence. I just called for diplomacy first. And when Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, in a prayer meeting at the Pentagon, said that it called for no mercy for those who do not deserve it. The Pope then said at his own prayer service that Jesus does not listen to those whose hands are full of blood. Never explicitly mentioning Pete Hegseth, but let's be real here. It was for him, because he called for no mercy for humans. And the following days, the president at some point threatened, basically he threatened the death of the entire Iranian people if they did not come to the table. And obviously the Pope did not like that, because that is just going for violence. There's no attempt at peace in that. And he spoke out very, very clearly about it. And he called for citizens of the United States, of Iran, to ask for peace from their government, and to call for something to happening and a ceasefire. And then what really kicks the story off, what really kicks off, the entire story here, is Trump posts two things. First is a image of him as essentially as a Jesus-looking like figure, hands over someone healing them, which, it's kind of crazy. You don't expect it. He said that he thought it was him as a doctor, which I don't remember doctors wearing robes, but maybe the Red Cross always has. And then following that, he posted an entire rant calling him one of the worst popes ever, saying that he's weak on crime, weak on foreign policy, weak on nuclear weapons. Frankly, a lot of things the Pope doesn't have control over. I don't know how you can be weak on nuclear weapons when the Vatican doesn't have nuclear weapons. What are they supposed to be doing? They're simply asking for peace. But it's really what's crazy about this and all that, because that's kind of all that's happened so far. What's crazy is this is really one of the first times that the POTUS has been straight, at arms against the Vatican. And it's especially crazy from a Republican who a lot of their base would be Christians and Catholics and Protestants. I don't know why I made that distinction. They're all the same. But it's really crazy to see that. And some of the people, start to question that, because, you're going after the Vatican, which has been the authority of the Christians for years and years and years. And it's really surprising to see such a staunch attack. And that's why this article really made me. This article is from the BBC. it really made me drop any other plans. Sorry about the David Koresh episode, but you know, you don't really see heads of state openly going after the Vatican because it just looks so bad. But here we are. I'm really the last person who would support the Vatican in something like this, because I think a lot of times they do give up on their morals. But it's cool to see them stand their ground on their doctrine for once. And that's really all there is for today, folks. Sorry for the interruption for the David Koresh episode, but next time we'll get to it. Till then, stay safe.